Hello everyone. Today, I'll be walking you through the topic why I moved to Kotlin. And before that, I think a quick intro about me. Hello, I'm Lilima Pradhan, and I've been working as an application developer at ThoughtWorks for over 3 years now. And as part of my work, I've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of, you might say, trending technologies. And that is when I came across Kotlin. And there were like many, it was a paradigm shift for me, and there were many new things that I learned. So I think that's why I decided that I'll take this opportunity to share some things with you. So let's get started on this. So before we even start on why I moved on to Kotlin, let's just take a few minutes to understand what is Kotlin. So Kotlin is a open source statically typed programming language that targets the JVM, Android, JavaScript, and native. So what do I mean when I say statically typed is that it does type checking, in which is the process of verifying and enforcing the constraints at compile time as opposed to the runtime. So it was developed by JetBrains, and it started around 2010, and it's been going pretty steady since then. And recently there has been a lot of hype and interest into it. So the market is also catching on to it. And it was on my previous project that I came across this language, and it was just very beautiful and it just helped me to deal with a lot of problems that I was facing previously in other languages. Okay, so yeah, before I try to convince you all that let's all move to Kotlin, so I wanted to present some stats. So this is from the Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow publishes some statistics every year around the people who are interacting with the platform, and they publish statistics around what are people mostly working on, what languages are they liking, and what is the most trendiest language in the market currently. And this is according to the 2020 survey that they did, which clearly shows that in the list of loved languages, Kotlin has come to the fourth number. I know it's not at the top, but yeah, still a pretty good position for like tons of languages that we have currently in the market. And yeah, the next thing is about this next slide is from GitHub. So they also have publishing every year in which they publish things about how is the trend of the language going on. Is it picking up, or is it the users are going down? So as we can see, like the Java usage, I chose Java because Java is mostly the language to which Kotlin is compared to. So yeah, looking at the Java graph, it has been declining, although we can't say that it's dwindling. It's far from dwindling, and I think for many, many years to come, it will still be the default choice for many companies and many projects. But still, if you look at the short time that Kotlin has been here and the jump in its graph, we get to see that it's been catching on into the market and people are really loving the language. So, okay. And I think some final statistics about who are the users of Kotlin. So I've listed down the cool ones, although there are a lot many other projects that are using Kotlin. But yeah, so some of the major companies that are using it are Pinterest, Coursera, Netflix, Uber. So it has been kind of a default language by now for the Android world, but that's not the only thing that Kotlin is restricted to. We can use it for a lot of other things, and we'll see that ahead. So yeah, as I said, Kotlin can be used for almost all kinds of development, be it server-side, web development, desktop development, native development. And recently, so people have also started to do data science development using Kotlin. And currently it is supported for native, so Android development is supported. But looking at the trend and looking at how many people want to use it, so the Mac OS and iOS support is also coming. So the team is already working on it, and let's hope we get to see the results soon. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the language with which Kotlin is mostly compared with is Java. And as I said, Java has a pretty huge market. And why, if you're working on Java, I think some of the challenges that we can list with the language, because of which people are actually moving to Kotlin. So Java is like one of the most oldest languages, and it has been there for a long time, and it's still one of the most popular languages. It was developed by Sun Microsystems and is currently owned by Oracle. And yeah, you could say that Java is not only used to develop Android applications, it is you can develop almost anything with Java. And it does provide us some cool features like object oriented programming, concurrent programming, and also Java is pretty popular because of the feature that you can just compile it once and run at all the environments, all the platforms that support JVM. So the problems with Java are not with the usage, but how the language is structured. We can discuss some of them. And I think one of the most painful challenges while working with Java is the null pointer exception. So most of us, I think almost all of us who have worked with Java can identify with this one. So null pointer is almost everywhere in Java, and the founder of it also has uh, used the term $1 billion mistake to describe it. So, $1 billion mistake because it takes a lot of time and resources to basically know that whether a variable or something in your program is going to crash because of a null pointer exception. The second point is that Java is a very verbose language. So it's pretty good when you're getting started on programming languages. But when you go ahead and you start working more, you realize that it has a lot of boilerplate code. And Java was designed in a manner that it has an imperative style of coding. And by imperative style of coding, I mean that we generally have to list down a process what of what we want to do with the program. So it involves us telling almost each and everything that we want to do and like specifying it to the compiler that these are the steps we want. And as the world is progressing, most of the modern language features like lazy initializations, extension functions are not available in Java, which is part of the reason why people are switching to other languages. So, if we move on to the question, why Kotlin? I think, as the website of Kotlin states, that the three main reasons why you should choose Kotlin over anything else is that it's concise, it's safe, and it's interoperable. We'll see the meaning of all these verbs as we go ahead. But yeah, these are the three marketing factors through which Kotlin is marketed. So let's look at conciseness first. So let's say we have to create a POJO, which is a plain old Java object with getters, setters, equals, hash code, and copy method. So I think depending on the number of members it has, we can clearly imagine a 50 or a 60 line code with getters, setters, equals method, hash code, and other functionalities just to make a data object that we don't need any other functionality in. But with Kotlin, it becomes pretty straightforward. And what we have to do is there's a concept of data class in Kotlin. So we just have to declare a class. And as you can look, this is the clearest syntax that could give us all these mentioned functionalities. And it just gets rid of a lot of boilerplate code and makes it easy for us to understand the code. Another example of its conciseness would be filtering a list using a lambda expression. So let's say we want to filter a list for positive numbers. And so with Java 8, after the advent of Java 8, we could use the stream API, but Kotlin makes it further easier. So as you can see, we can just apply a filter on a list and that's it. We get a result. Pretty easy and clean. So yeah, as I said, uh, Kotlin is marketed as safe because it gets rid of the null pointer exceptions. So when you're programming in Kotlin, you have to make your intent clear whether you want a variable to be null or not. So if you have declared a variable to be not nullable, if you ever try to assign null value to it, you'll get a compilation error anywhere in the program. And similarly, if you want to declare a nullable variable, you can't just access its methods. We will result into a compilation error. We have to use the null safe operator for this. So you might say that the null is still there, the problem hasn't gone. But what Kotlin did was that it made you declare that whether you want a variable to hold the null value or not. So once you declare that, okay, I want my name to be nullable, you are responsible that, yeah, okay, it could have a null value. And you might want to check whether it has a null value or not whenever you're using it in your program. But if say, let's say we are using something like a pan or let's say name only, and we don't want it to be nullable, there's no way the compiler is going to let us assign null to it at any point in time. And that is what makes the language beautiful, that it makes you tell your intent at the starting, so you don't have any problems as we go ahead. And yeah, one of the most coolest features of Kotlin is also that once you check what is the type of a particular variable, let's say here we are checking object is invoice or not, the object is typecast to invoice, and we can use all the methods of invoice from this point forth. So in this scope of if object is invoice, we can use all the methods that are on invoice, because once you checked that object is of type invoice, Kotlin compiler actually did the smart cast behind the scenes and let us use this feature. And yeah, while making Kotlin, one of the most important features was that there are tons of libraries that are already developed for the JVM platform, and we have a lot of functionalities. So as we say in the programming world, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And that is where Kotlin took a stance and they made the language interoperable. So what that provides us is that you can use all the existing libraries of JVM and try to, let's say you have 100 lines, 100 files. You can just let them be in Java and then you could write the 101th file in Kotlin. So that's a very good feature and it allows you to start with Kotlin at any point of your application. So I've also taken an example here. So as we see, this is a Java program. It has a function. And this at the right-hand side, we see a Kotlin program. And we don't have to do any other thing to be able to access something from the Java program. It's just accessible to us as easy. So behind the scenes, it's as if the other program was also written in Kotlin. So we don't have to worry about it. Our compiler takes care of it, and all we get is easiness and interoperability of the language, which makes it pretty easy for us to get onboarded to it and start with it at any point in our project, or let's say for experimentation too. Now we will move to the main features that are that define the languages. So Java is not purely OOP, as we know. So it is because Java does not, Java uses some keywords like data types, int, float, double, which are not, which are primitive types and which are not object oriented. So we can't say Kotlin is pure OOP, but it's definitely more oriented towards OOP than Java. And Kotlin also helps us with functional programming, which Java has started picking on, but it's still very far from where Kotlin is. And the ease of writing lambda expressions is also more in Kotlin as compared to Java. As we've previously discussed, Kotlin also provides us null safety and smart casts, which Java currently does not have. And also, one of the important features of Kotlin is that it does not have checked exceptions. Yeah, which Java has. We could argue on that whether it's really a beneficial feature or not. But yeah, I think it has its advantages and disadvantages. So for me, it has been more advantageous. So that's why I liked Kotlin more. And if you're worrying about, okay, let me start on Kotlin, but can I use my existing IDs to code in Kotlin? Yes, of course you can. So it supports all the IDs that are popular in the market, like IntelliJ IDEA, Android Studio, Eclipse, and NetBeans. So yeah, I think after talking about what all cool things it has, how it compares to its most competed language, I can speak about why I switched. So the main reasons were, as I've mentioned before, it gets rid of a lot of boilerplate code. It requires less code. The less code you write, the lesser bugs it has, and the lesser you have to deal with problems. It also has security because we get rid of null pointers and we have to specify our intent of whether we can have nulls in our program or not. And I think it's been pretty easy to learn. It didn't involve a steep learning curve, and the community has been, yeah, I would agree the community is pretty small as compared to Java, but it has still been very helpful with the resources and the answers for you to quickly get onboarded to it. And one of the most important factors for me has been that it was really fun to use. It has a lot of features that obviously I've not spoken about in the short time frame. But yeah, it has a lot of cool features that you can experiment around with and learn. And you must have seen some cool features in other languages that you've wanted to use in the JVM domain. So it also has that. It has smart casts, and also it it's not it won't help you do clear or full functional programming, but still it has bits and pieces of it, so you can like get started on it and use it. So it has been pretty decent on that side too. And these are some of the references that I've used for the talk. So thank you everyone for listening to me, and I hope most of you do switch to Kotlin. Even if you don't switch for the project purpose, I would hope that you go ahead and experiment with the language to learn what are all the cool features and how does it compare uh, itself to the current world. Thank you.